So, any codec moments from you, Snake? Okay, first up... Snake? What the hell is this?
Yeah, he said that he'd give me free boxes if I subscribed to the channel. Oh, and he said he'd make a documentary about you.
No way! Me in a documentary? Sure, sign me up, Snake. How do I look? How's my hair?
Oh, Otacon, I've got a surprise for you.
Oh my gosh, Snake! That ass is dummy thick!
Otacon on the surface might appear to be nerdy, weak, coward-like, but in fact, Otacon would be none of those things. With Otacon's introverted personality, he's a brilliant scientist, an engineer with a strong moral compass, and is emotionally sensitive and empathetic. He has a range of emotions throughout the series: guilt, sorrow, love, and compassion. His emotional reactions contribute to the humanization of the character, and of course, deepen the narrative's emotional impact. It's fair to say, overall, Otacon's personality is a blend of intellectual brilliance, moral conviction, emotional sensitivity, and loyalty. His character development and interactions with others contribute significantly to the richness of Metal Gear Solid's narrative. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that usually Snake takes the spotlight, but without Otacon, Snake would have a tough time laying out the groundwork to complete these missions. So I think it's only fair we look into the development of this intellectual introverted genius. And yes, I know what you're all thinking, this isn't Metal Gear Solid voice box, this is Death Stranding. Yes, of course, but this is going to be relevant to what I'm trying to explain, because the great director Hideo Kojima and Yoji Shinkawa are usually mostly the people that design these wonderful characters we all love in Metal Gear Solid. Of course, that in particular of Yoji, because without this guy, we wouldn't have the look and the style that we all see the characters to appear to be within the game. In fact, you could say that he is the one who pretty much designed the look of the characters. Hideo Kojima states that he created Otacon, or Otacon, as his way of glorifying the otaku stereotype by having a character who fights the terrorists with his intellect rather than his brawn. According to Kojima, the original idea of Otacon was to make him heavier, wearing a cap and programming while eating a chocolate bar. However, designer Yoji Shinkawa came up with the idea to make him slender instead. Otacon's real name, Hal Emmerich, is a reference to both the film's 2001 Space Oddity, highlighted by Snake's real name, David, and Roland Emmerich, one of Kojima's favorite film directors. When asked who his favorite Metal Gear character is, Kojima said that if he had to choose, it would be Otacon, due to the fact that he proudly calls himself an otaku, which is a Japanese for geek, and that he helps Snake without getting his hands dirty. According to the storyboards and the game plan published in the words of Metal Gear, Otacon was at one point depicted as an African American. According to Kojima's comments on Metal Gear Solid 2, certain portions of his physical appearance and mannerisms were based on himself. With Otacon's character development and creation, and how it would branch out into the franchise, of course, this character has a very tragic backstory, in which Hideo Kojima himself would write and would structure in so well that it would cause a lot of emotional moments, such as having a dark family history that would shadow over his existence, torturing his guilty conscience through the sins of the father.
All the thoughts keep piercing this broken mind.
For you see, I'm going to send these documents to my friend in the United States.
What?
That was an unmanned weapon. A prototype. I made it myself.
Who are you?
I work here. Well, used to, anyway. Name's Huey.
Just like Otacon, Huey Emmerich, the father of Otacon, is a scientist, an engineer. It is the very reason behind the traumatic past of Otacon's childhood and upbringing. Like father and like son, both would develop and work on Metal Gears. Otacon is nothing that exemplifies anything of his father's traits. Huey Emmerich lacks any empathy or any care for anyone else but himself. The amount of people that he has put in harm's way due to his own selfish actions cost many people their lives. Huey Emmerich is full of betrayal and deception. Provided information to the likes of Skullface, the organization behind the scenes in Metal Gear Solid 5, and betraying the military Sans Frontiers, the mercenary group led by Big Boss, which of course with the events of the inspection that would take place at Mother Base, of course would be an entire ruse to blow the entire base down. Huey Emmerich exemplifies the meaning of victim mentality, Along with manipulation and self-preservation, Huey is a character who prioritizes self-preservation, his actions including manipulating events to his advantage. Put it simply, he's not one person to be trusted. In fact, the guy is a complete scumbag. Of course, Otacon would be conceived, with his mother of course being Dr. Strangelove. Which bizarrely enough, Dr. Strangelove gave Huey a chance to be able to start a family.
Do you despise me?
Doctor, are you asking me out?
No, not at all.
No? Pity. Because I've just had my heart broken by someone else.
What?
I only like those who can stand on their own. If you fancy me, then come walk with me. Who knows what miracles might happen. Love is blind after all.
Strangelove and Huey would become an item, a thing. Of course, they would be back at Mother Base making sure that things are operational, that being operational for Metal Gear Solid Zeke. It's tragic to see that how Strangelove's heart was in the right place compared to Huey, where his selfish nature would take a dark turn. Dr. Strangelove would eventually leave Mother Base, due to the AI department not giving results, as well as Zeke being eventually completed. During the events of Peace Walker, of course, Dr. Strangelove would find herself pregnant and carrying Otacon. With events prior to Phantom Pain during the 1980s, Dr. Strangelove and Huey would be romantically reunited. Of course, at that time is where Hal Emmerich was using his son in the cockpit of the Metal Gear as an experimental test subject, which was highly dangerous. Of course, that's where then Strangelove had drawn the line and decided to take Hal to a refuge in America, away from Huey. Of course, Huey would find himself standing trial back at Mother Base for committing these acts of crime, where it appeared that Huey had locked Strangelove within the AI pod. Some people believe there's different motives for his reasons, but of course one reason just being that he is plain selfish and twisted, and he's just resentful for the fact that Strangelove removed Otacon away from his presence. But of course, as disturbing as it sounds, would be responsible for the death of Otacon's mother.
Strangelove's gravestone, haunted by her phantom.
It's just a machine.
Huey! Damn it, Huey! Open it now! Please! Let me out! Kill me!
It recorded it all. Everything. Everything you did living together.
How could a machine?
You forced your own son into the cockpit of a Metal Gear, a test subject.
Hal.
His mother had to hide him away, and for that you locked her in that coffin.
No! She did it herself! It was suicide! And even if I did, what right do you have?
Huey had a good way of convincing people that he was innocent, when the actual fact is he is the perpetrator. Ocelot says it himself, that one day the man will see through the lies that he has built up.
One day he'll see through the lies he's built up, realize what kind of man he really is. What goes around comes around. You can't run from yourself forever.
And now I'll never see my son again. But at least Hal's free from his father's hands. Oh, Hal, can you forgive the mother who couldn't protect you? Hal, don't ever be afraid. Whatever happens up there, she'll be watching over you.
At some point in the future, after being exiled from Mother Base, Hal Emmerich would find himself in America, where he would meet his son, Hal Emmerich, Otacon. At some point in the 90s, his father got married to Julie Dazinger. Dazinger had a daughter of her own named Emma, who adopted the Emmerich surname. Hal and Emma often played house together in their youth, being quite close, like brothers and sisters. While living at the family home, Hal was seduced by his stepmother Julie, despite him still being a young teenager, and they had an affair. Hal's father, after learning about this, committed suicide by drowning himself. Whilst the affair may have tipped him over the edge, it could have been that everything that he had done in the past had finally caught up with him, the year's worth of guilt. Of course, he dragged Emma with him in the pool, but she managed to survive. Of course, Emma resented Otacon because she expected Hal to come to her aid, but Hal didn't know it was happening because he was too busy with Julie. Of course, Otacon, having a conscience, would take the burden and the guilt of such a horrible action from his father, who was willing to kill his own stepdaughter in spite of the affair. Of course, Otacon would feel immense guilt for not being there for Emma, who's like a sister to him. Otacon would run away from home, blaming the death of his father on himself, as well as Emma almost drowning. But that would only be the beginning of a tragic tale of Otacon. Of course, moving forward to Shadow Moses.
Shadow Moses awaits.
Shadow Moses is quite a tragic tale as a whole, as each individual within Shadow Moses has some kind of tragic story, or some kind of morality, or some kind of personal struggle from within they're trying to overcome, or they're still battling. Of course, Otacon's morality and ethic dilemmas are a big thing within Shadow Moses, such as the dilemmas of his involvement with creating Metal Gear and dealing with the consequences of his actions and how it impacts the entire world. Amidst all the dread and the chaos within the Metal Gear Solid games, sometimes love can bloom on the battlefield. Great relationships and friends can be found along the way. One of those great friendships started in Shadow Moses between Snake and Otacon. Snake would face his former friend Frank Yeager once again to protect Otacon, who is quite clearly shaken. Snake and Otacon are very two different people, but they do share similarities between their tragic histories. Snake isn't an overly emotional character, but something about Otacon really brings out a human side within him. The beauty of Shadow Moses and the tragedy of it is both the loss and the gain of something brilliant and something tragic, something that would bring Snake and Otacon together as good friends. The beauty of the two is that Snake and Otacon share a similar moral compass. They both grapple with the consequences of their actions and the morality of the missions they undertake. This shared sense of morality deepens their connection and understanding of each other, lifting one another up when the other person is down. There's a good chance that Grey Fox would have killed Otacon, and in doing so, Snake would not have let that happen.
I need that man. Keep your hands off him.
Eventually, Snake would save Otacon, and would try and convince him to come out of the wardrobe. Of course, them two would have a conversation in which Otacon would explain to him a bit of the tragic history behind his family lineage. The dialogue between Otacon and Snake is very refreshing. It feels very natural. Otacon is a symbolic representation of the serious themes, that being of the consequences of scientific advancements and the moral implications of warfare and the struggle for individual redemption. Otacon serves as a microcosm of the larger issues explored throughout the Metal Gear Solid series. Of course, Otacon would be the chief engineer behind designing the likes of Metal Gear, but of course the designs came from Granin, in which he implemented his skills on to design. But of course he didn't expect it to become a nuclear walking bipedal weapon. And just like his grandfather, his inventions would be used for technical innovations that really would be disastrous for humanity.
I'm such a fool. It's all my fault. The truth is, my grandfather was part of the Manhattan Project. He suffered with the guilt for the rest of his life. And my father, he was born on August 6th, 1945.
The day of the Hiroshima bomb. God's got a sense of humor, all right.
3 generations of Emmerich men. We must have the curse of nuclear weapons written into our DNA. I used to think that I could use science to help mankind, but the one that wound up getting used was me. Using science to help mankind, it's just in the movies.
That's enough crying. Pull yourself together. Where is Metal Gear? Where on this base are they keeping it?
Otacon would serve to help Snake throughout the majority of his mission on Shadow Moses, unlike Colonel Campbell, who was just following orders from the higher executive. With any inside information on Shadow Moses Island, Otacon was there to relay that information directly to Snake. It's cool to see that how already their relationship is developing even at the beginning of just meeting each other. Snake is the brawn and tackles the mission, and Otacon is the brains behind the operation to make Snake sure that he gets his mission done.
You'll need me if you're gonna destroy Rex.
I don't need you. I just need your brain.
I created Rex. It's my right, my duty to destroy him.
If you get a chance, try to escape. When the coast is clear, I'll contact you by codec.
How am I supposed to escape from an island?
Okay.
So what then?
I want you to hide somewhere and keep me informed. You know this place well, don't you?
Of course I do.
The partnership between the two was definitely a beginning start of what made these two lovable to begin with. Out of all the bromances in Metal Gear Solid, such as Ocelot and Big Boss or Kaz and Big Boss, the relationship between Snake and Otacon is one of truth, loyalty, and respect. With the same sense of shared morality, wanting to do the right things on this world. I know that Otacon's actively behind the scenes. It's his information and inside knowledge and his technological skills that drive Snake on his mission, such as understanding where Metal Gear Rex is being held, and of course giving Snake assistance by giving him key cards to access certain parts of the building. Admittedly, we have to say Otacon is a little bit nerdy, but that's what makes him beautiful and drives these innovative ideas that he has, such as making these Metal Gears. Of course, he is a big otaku Japanese animation fan, and that's where he gets his inspiration from. But it's cool to see that, yes, there's some truth behind the fact that the Japanese industry in robotics really are leaps and bounds ahead and in front of other nations in this kind of technological innovation.
Call me Otacon.
Otacon?
It stands for Otaku Convention. An otaku's a guy like me who likes Japanimation. Japan was the first country to successfully make bipedal robots. They're still the best in the field of robotics.
And Japanese cartoons played some part in that?
They did. I didn't get into science to make nuclear weapons, you know.
That's what all scientists say.
I became a scientist because I wanted to make robots like the ones in the Japanese animes. Really, it's true.
At some point Snake would be captured. As him and Meryl's making their way through the facility, Meryl would get seriously injured by sniper fire from Sniper Wolf, which sadly would throw Otacon and Snake into an odd predicament, because of course Meryl is Snake's love interest, and of course Otacon's love interest at the moment is Sniper Wolf. But with no one really to turn to for help, of course Snake would bring Otacon, in which he would give him assistance that he would need to bust out of the cell, which really is a testimony to Otacon's loyalty as a friend, even at the beginning.
Otacon.
I'm headed your way now. Can't you just relax?
So what are you doing here then?
I thought you might be hungry. If you need more food, I can bring some more later. Also, I got you this level 6 card. It'll get you out of that torture room. Here, take this too.
What's this?
It's a handkerchief. I got it from Sniper Wolf.
Why?
I don't know why, but she's nice to me.
Sounds like Stockholm Syndrome to me.
She likes dogs. She must be a good person. Please don't hurt her.
Wake up, you idiot. She's the one who shot Meryl.
Well, that's all I can do.
They're planning to launch a nuke. I've got to stop them.
Then you have to get past the communications tower.
First, you have to get me out of here.
Come on, I'm trying my best.
That guard's got the key. You'll have to take him out.
Give me a break. I'm no soldier. I can't take anybody out.
After Snake would escape the cell by means of using tomato ketchup, and having a little bit of a brisk encounter with the Hind D and swiftly rappelling his way down, of course he'd be heading to the elevator where he would come across Otacon, where the two once again would really have a heart-to-heart conversation, which really seems like something Snake wouldn't be comfortable talking about, but opens up to Otacon about what he feels about the topic. Which is interesting that Otacon can explore Snake's human side, given on the fact that really he's designed just to be a weapon, but of course he isn't without emotion or feelings. He just doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve like Otacon.
Snake, there's something I've really got to ask you. It's why I followed you up this far. Have you ever loved someone?
That's what you came to ask?
No, I mean, I was wondering if even soldiers fall in love.
What are you trying to say?
I want to ask you, do you think love can bloom even on a battlefield?
Yeah, I do.
I think at any time, any place, people can fall in love with each other. But if you love someone, you have to be able to protect them.
I think so too.
Otacon's faced many losses before, but he never really had a close connection with those losses. Of course, he never got the chance since his mother was murdered by his own father and then his father drowned himself, who really never spent time to even give him any love. The death of Sniper Wolf was very emotional for Otacon because I suppose it was a bit of love that nobody has shown him for quite some time. He built a connection towards her and had a common interest, and sadly Snake had to put down the wolf. The Sniper Wolf death scene has to be one of the most poetically beautiful written scenes I think I've ever seen. In terms of emotional farewells as characters go, the beauty of it is it shows how the character really does develop into what they become in the game. The emotional trauma, the PTSD they experience through emotional loss and death. You can quite clearly see that in the cutscene that Otacon explains that he couldn't be there to save her. Almost like he couldn't be there to save his father or be there for Emma when she needed him. It really is a bittersweet life in which Otacon would live, one that would haunt him for most of his life. Of course, death is just part of the human experience that one has to come to accept, including the loss of losing a loved one. Metal Gear Solid covers many themes, and it really does this one amazingly well. The beauty of this scene between Snake and Otacon is it shares a moment of both emotional sides. Otacon is still conflicted inside with his emotions, where Snake has kind of come to terms with what he's experienced, and he really does have no more tears to shed. This scene really does demonstrate how strong and powerful their friendship really is, as Snake tries to give Otacon somewhat of a pep talk to try and make him feel a little bit better about the entire situation. And in fact, Snake gives Otacon a reason, a purpose, something to clear his conscience, and something to put behind the past and do the right thing.
Snake, you said that love could bloom on the battlefield. But I couldn't save her.
I don't need a handkerchief.
Why?
I don't have any more tears to shed. I'm going to the underground base. We're out of time.
I know.
You'll have to protect yourself now. Don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
If I can't stop Metal Gear, this whole place will probably be bombed to hell.
Yeah.
We might not meet again.
I'll hang on to my codec. I want to keep helping.
You can leave anytime. Get a head start. A head start on your new life.
Snake! What was she fighting for? What am I fighting for? What are you fighting for?
If we make it through this, I'll tell you.
Okay. I'll be searching too.
By the time Snake had defeated Metal Gear Rex through the help of Otacon, which designed Rex actually to be in a way that could be destroyed, would give Snake a bit of a guide on how to put it down. Of course, by this time, Snake would be also reunited with Meryl, in which now they needed to plan their escape. I think it's worth pointing out too that I don't know why some people think it's a big deal about which ending you take. Whether you leave with Otacon or Meryl, it makes no difference. They're both canonical to the story anyway. The bombers get called off, so nobody dies. But by portraying the bravery of Otacon's character, if you do decide to take Meryl along with you, Otacon would disable all the security locks for the loading tunnel, nearly sacrificing himself in the process. Pretty brave, considering at the time that everybody believed the place was going to get bombed.
I'll take care of security along your escape route, too.
What are you going to do?
Me? I'll stay here.
Are you crazy?
I need a little more time to take care of your escape route.
But
unlocking the security doors is difficult work. Only I can do it.
Otacon.
Don't worry. I'm staying here. It's my own decision.
Otacon, this is a hardened shelter, but they're going to use a surface-piercing nuclear bomb. It won't hold.
I'm through regretting the past. Life isn't all about loss, you know. Snake, I'm a complete person now. I've found a reason to live.
Good. Don't die on me.
Same to you. Take care of Meryl, okay?
I will.
Okay, I gotta go. I promise I'll do something about your escape route.
Thanks.
Thanks? Well, that sounds nice.
I believe in you.
Thanks, Snake.
I stare at the stars and the sky.
Life isn't just about passing on your genes. We can leave behind much more than just DNA through speech, music, literature, and movies. What we've seen, heard, felt, anger, joy, and sorrow. These are the things I will pass on. That's what I live for. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.
Following Revolver Ocelot's leak of the Rex schematics on the black market, Otacon and Natasha Romaniko decided to set up an anti-Metal Gear NGO, Philanthropy. Solid Snake and Otacon soon began a partnership and close friendship that would continue for the next decade, as it would continue to destroy Metal Gear Rex derivatives that were being developed by almost every country. In Metal Gear Solid 2, we see a bit more of a confident side of Otacon. It seems like he's found some kind of a purpose and a meaning behind his life. It seems like time that he has spent along Snake has kind of heightened his confidence, made him more comfortable in his own skin to use what he's good at to be an intellectual in important situations. During their operations, Ocelot and Snake would break into a facility and they stole Liquid's corpse, deducing that Liquid's corpse might prove useful during one of their investigations. This time in regards to the US Navy's derivative of the Metal Gear, Otacon stumbled upon evidence of the Patriot's involvement in the project. Although he couldn't find out any more of the organization due to heavy security, he then decided that he should then learn more about them in the future operation. In terms of radio support, you couldn't ask for another better man than Otacon, who knows how to hack into all kinds of systems to get information he needs with intelligence gathering.
By the way, Otacon, are you sure of this intelligence?
Absolutely. Hacked it out of the Pentagon's classified files myself.
No traces?
Oh, please, I'm too good for that.
But this might be a trap. Remember, there's a price on our heads.
You're just being paranoid.
I hope so.
With Philanthropy was to expose any Metal Gear derivatives, including the US Marines Metal Gear Ray. Unfortunately, the mission would come to an unfortunate end as Ocelot was on board and stole Metal Gear Ray. And of course, in doing so, Otacon and Snake would be framed for the incident. Otacon, being the creative genius that he is, would find himself getting in a small boat to sail over to the sinking vessel to rescue Snake. And of course, one-upping the Patriots and Ocelot by faking Snake's death by using Liquid's body to cover their tracks. I mean, after all, Liquid is identical to Snake. But this just comes to show Otacon's quick thinking skills and the ability not to crack under pressure. The level of importance in Otacon's character in both emotional and characteristic development, even with his such intellect, comes to show how he really does have a big part within the Metal Gear Solid franchise's narrative. Without Otacon's knowledge, someone sent information in order to lure Snake to the big shell. Hal also discovered that his stepsister, Hal Emmerich, was involved in the Patriot's Arsenal Gear project, for continuing which the Sons of Liberty terrorists intended to hijack. Otacon would meet Operation Foxhound Specialist Raiden, who would be appointed to rescue Emma, as she was the only way who could know how to shut down the likes of GW. Of course, the reunion would be quite tragic, and sad considering that Otacon didn't get to patch things together the way he probably would have liked to with his stepsister. The tragedy of it all is that Emma wanted to follow within the footsteps, becoming a bit of a genius, a bit of a tech nut like her brother, but in doing so would get tied in and involved with the dangers such as the operations that her brother Otacon Hal Emmerich would have to undertake. This of course has to be one of the most heart-wrenching moments within Metal Gear, possibly of all time, because it's both the tragedy that Emma and Hal was facing, with terrible parenting, with no love, and trying to look after one another. The pair were a significant part of one another. Of course, Otacon didn't want to be around due to the guilt of disappearing out of her life and not being there for her when she was drowning, but also Emma wouldn't hate Otacon, she was just mad that he would disappear without at least explaining why. But of course this would be just as Hideo Kojima intended, the story of being a victim of war and violence and murder.
I remember my brother giving me a piggyback ride. I was sleeping with my ear against his back. I could hear his heartbeat.
Sounds like you were close.
We were, back then. We were stepchildren in our parents' second marriages. Wherever my brother went, I used to tag along. My brother didn't have any close friends, so he used to take care of me. We both wanted to be loved so much. So much that we used to pretend.
Pretend?
Yeah, we used to play house. My brother was the husband and I was the wife. But it was always just make-believe. We were only kids. You know what I mean.
I never had a family, but I think I know what you mean.
Hal?
Is that you?
Hal.
Why are you involved with Metal Gear?
Huh?
You knew our family's dark history and still got involved? What's wrong with you?
I should have known.
Answer me, why are you repeating the same mistake?
I wanted to hurt you. I wanted to see you suffer. You abandoned me.
No, that's not what happened.
All right, that's enough.
Unfortunately, the awaited reunion wouldn't happen between Emmer and Otacon. As sad as this scene really was, Vamp, the bastard that he is, would stab Emma directly within the stomach. She was bleeding out, and there was no possible way that she was going to survive. What makes this moment between Otacon and his sister all the more emotional is the build-up to the entire situation. As this loss actually really did mean something to Otacon. This is his sister, a girl he's grown up with his entire life, someone he deeply cared for and looked at as a little sister throughout most of his teenage years. It really is a bittersweet tragedy of Otacon's story. It doesn't get any more emotional. Of course they would be reunited, but of course in the most horrific way you could imagine. The absolute pain of holding a dead, lifeless sibling within your arms, saying your final few words and goodbyes. Something you never learn to get over, you just learn to live with. But it shows his character on how emotionally invested he is into people he cares about.
I thought that with Arsenal, if I followed in your footsteps, I could be closer. Just wanted you to look at me. Look at me as a woman.
I could never do that. What's wrong with EE? Emma? 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 Answer me! I didn't leave you. Because of the accident, I had a relationship with your mother. She seduced me. And it went on. My father's death was no accident. He took his own life. It was my fault, all my fault. Forgive me, Emma.
Emma's death would serve as another tragic farewell within Otacon's life. Of course, within the bittersweet moments, it always will carry some sort of trauma within his life. But of course, he realizes the mission and purpose of what it is that he needs to do. With the big shells collapsed because of Arsene Gear's descent, of course, the hostages need to be rescued. Otacon doesn't even have time to grieve. Of course, still been in an emotional situation. He's not going to be helpful in a situation like this. Of course, who else would Otacon need other than his great buddy Snake, who quite clearly are very close. I mean, these guys spend a lot of time making their own handshake, so one can think behind the scenes these two have had great moments together within their spare time, aside all the war. Snake really pulled out a side of Otacon that I don't even think he realized he had. A sense of bravery and courage to keep moving forward. I mean, after all, who's gonna rescue all these hostages in the big shell?
Damn! Otacon, try to get as many hostages out as you can. It's a short flight to the shore, so don't worry about overloading the Kamov.
Leave it to me.
I repeat, personnel in the upper levels, head for the evacuation area immediately.
I'm counting on you, Otacon.
It's also worth mentioning that Otacon would assist Raiden on his mission by giving him a sense of clarity exactly who he was talking to onto the codec. Of course, he explained to him it would be an AI, basically doing Raiden a solid, showing how much of a cool tech and genius that he is, by doing some digging around and uncovering information the likes that only a tech wizard like him could do.
Raiden, about this colonel of yours. I found out where he is.
Where?
Inside Arsenal.
What?
I've checked out all the possibilities, but I keep coming back to Arsenal. It isn't a relay point, it's the origin of the signal. And the encryption protocol it uses is exactly the same as that of Arsenal's AI, the so-called GW.
What the hell does this mean?
I think it means you've been talking to an AI.
That's impossible.
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine.
With the finality of Metal Gear Solid 4, this is where a game would really come to a close, with Otacon's final missions to aid in stopping the Patriot system. Otacon's involvement in MGS4 can't be understated. He's a massive help towards Snake and his final mission. And of course, being there to assist Snake on the battlefield, not in means of being there himself, but with the remote-controlled robot terminal known as the Mark II.
It's me, Snake. Sorry to keep you waiting, Snake. Allow me to introduce Metal Gear Mark II.
Metal Gear.
That's right, just like Rex. But this gear's not a weapon. It's a remote mobile terminal designed to provide you with operational support.
Where are you?
I'm in the Nomad. Where else?
With most of the base of the operations taking place within the Nomad, Otacon would have himself an adopted daughter, if you will, called Sunny. After the tragic death of Olga Kurlukovich, she was freed from the Patriots by Raiden. Otacon would teach Sunny most of the skills he's learned, such as hacking, programming, and all kinds of engineering, and be a technical innovator, just like her uncle Hal. The relationship between the two is sweet and pure, and Hal is showing that he is capable of being a great father figure. Otacon has a really strong and protective bond with Sunny. Having lost several loved ones throughout the series, including his biological family, Otacon is deeply committed to Sunny's well-being.
He spends every day inside the net, exploring. For Sunny, this is home.
No, it shouldn't be like that.
What?
It's time you let her go outside.
What are you talking about?
She hasn't even been born yet. She's still in the womb. She needs to live a real life.
But Sunny's never shown any interest in leaving the Nomad. Frankly, I'm worried about letting her go out there.
The relationship between Otacon and Naomi is characterized by love, tragedy, redemption, and a profound understanding of the consequences of their action. Their story contributes to the emotional depth and complexity of the Metal Gear Solid narrative. Otacon would develop strong feelings for Naomi, and their relationship deepens over the course of the series. However, their love is marked by tragedy, particularly during the events of Metal Gear Solid 4. Course with deception and betrayal reveal a complicated aspect of Naomi and Otacon's relationship. Naomi's actions, including her manipulation of Otacon and others, contribute to the sense of betrayal. However, it is later revealed that Naomi had her reasons, including a desire to atone for her past. Of course, sharing in the same feelings and narrative of how Otacon feels, too.
If
if you get uncomfortable or anything, just let me know. I'll be out there working.
Thank you. Yes?
Call me Hal.
Once again, Snake and Otacon would find themselves back in Shadow Moses. It really was a time to reflect on all what they had been through coming back after all these years. It was kind of a bittersweet nostalgia, as whilst all the bad things that took place here, it would also be where their friendship would blossom and bloom, and quite frankly a reminder of the past. A past that you can't escape no matter how hard you try.
This is the room where we first met, huh?
Yep.
It's not conjuring up any unpleasant memories, is it? I was being attacked by Frank Yeager.
Yeah, I remember.
If you hadn't shown up when you did, Snake, you saved my life.
In Metal Gear Solid 4, Naomi is revealed to be terminally ill. This revelation adds a tragic dimension to her character and her relationship with Otacon. Otacon becomes deeply involved in Naomi's quest for redemption. The tragic patterns in Otacon's life seem to be a present thing. He falls in love for someone or something, and eventually it gets taken from him, and it's no longer there. It's a tragedy beyond all means. Something that is so sweet to begin with, but then turns out to be bitter, sour, and just downright tragic. To put it short, anything that Otacon gets close to, he eventually loses, which ties into his dissociation.
Oh, me. And yet, in the end, you help me feel the joy of living. Thank you, Hal. Thank you.
With the Patriot system finally destroyed, of course the world would now be reborn, away from Cypher's control. Of course, with the help of Otacon and his intellectual studies, Sunny, Otacon's adopted daughter, would miraculously make the virus that was designed from Hal Emmerich's design and completely shut down the Patriot system as a whole. It's a beautiful way to finish the game, as Otacon himself has an expressive few moments to share with the likes of Sunny in terms of her living a normal life, one outside of war and chaos, and Otacon taking on the wish of Naomi for basically Sunny to live somewhat of a normal life on the outside.
It's okay if you want to live outside now. It's your life. There are other havens out there.
The sun looks so pretty.
Sunny.
I like it outside.
I'm not crying.
Hi there, stranger.
Hey, you're looking good.
The end of Otacon's story would be a really nice ending, but not originally for what Kojima had planned for both Otacon and Snake. They were both to be executed, which really would have been a massively tragic ending considering how bad it was from the very beginning of his life to the end. But of course things would go really well, as Otacon would be legally the adoptive father of Sunny, and of course whatever life Snake had left would be spent sharing with the likes of Sunny and Otacon, enjoying the rest of whatever life he had, not fighting. So Otacon wasn't really left alone, as he had both his best friend who was like a brother and Sunny, who is an adoptive daughter, for where they could live out the rest of their life, making the most out of the good things in life and putting all the bad things behind them.
Where will you go? Our fight is finished. There's nothing left for us to do.
No. There's one thing I still have to do. I have to see this age off. See what the future brings.
Sounds good to me. I'll go with you.
There won't be any happy Beauty and the Beast ending for me. What little time I have left will be spent living.
But I'll remember everything you were. And stick with you to the end.
At some point in the future during the events of Metal Gear Rising, Snake is most likely passed on. And of course, Sunny has grown up to be the technical innovative genius, just like her father Hal. Of course, going on to own her own company called Solus. But of course, what would Otacon do after his time was spent being with his best friend and all the events that occurred? The guy would live with pure PTSD and dissociation from all his past experiences. Quite naturally, with the amount of loss and tragedy, Otacon would get his redemption after all these years. He could finally put behind all the things that gave him that guilt and move on with his life. It's sure that he did have a dark family history, but a family history that he wouldn't be a part of. But of course he would live out the rest of his days, keeping people at arm's length, living with the past experiences that have caused him his trauma, and scared to lose people he cares for. The story of Otacon is bittersweet.
Hey, so how's Otacon? About time he starts thinking about marriage, isn't it?
I don't know if he is or not, but either way, no dice yet. He likes to go on about how nobody would ever be happy with him long term. But it doesn't seem like he has too much trouble keeping busy on Saturday nights. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, he was a huge geek back when he was younger.
Maybe, but even so, he's still a nice guy. I doubt he was ever that lonely.
Yeah, I suppose. But he really changed once he got into his 30s. Got a lot more attractive.
Yeah, but he still has this really bad habit of keeping the ladies at arm's length. It winds up making him look really awkward sometimes. I really wish he'd just pick someone and settle down already.
Easier said than done, I guess.
Well then everybody, this has been The Voice Box. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Thank you for every single one of your supports here at The Voice Box base. And thank you guys, because we're nearly heading to the 1,000 subscriber mark, and it wouldn't be possible without you. Remember guys, to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and I'll join you soon. Thank you for watching.